So Sophie Cunningham is finally starting to remember how to play basketball. How to play basketball at the level that she can play at. Playing basketball at the level that we kind of expected from her. And the last few games, she's been killing it. As well as that, she obviously absolutely killed it when she played in the Commissioner's Cup final. She was the second best player that game. And she was this close. I'd say she was this close to winning Commissioner's Cup final MVP. Obviously, Natasha Howard, I'm not questioning that. She deserved to do it. But if you've been watching the last few games, Sophie Cunningham has been exceptional. She's been absolutely exceptional. Like, if you look at the Indiana Fevers, their last game that she played against the New York Liberty, and yeah, we can talk about Stephanie White, and I'm not going to call out. I saw a lot of videos, like, convos with Carter, like, kind of losing it at Stephanie White, like, not feeding the hot hand, but, like, there's only so many times you can beat a dead horse. Actually, let's be real, I did it for a year with Christy Sides, but, like, yeah, she's just not she's not one of those coaches. I don't think she's an offensive coach by any means. I think she's a defensive coach. You can bring in a defense system. Do not think she's an offensive coach. But if you guys haven't seen here, like, Sophie Cunningham in the game against the Liberty, this is the wrong game against the Liberty. In fairness, what she having this game? She was 2 of 8 from 3. She had 12 points in this game. Wasn't ideal. And in this game against the Liberty, she was 5 of 8 from 3. She was 5 of 7 on one stage. Only -6 in a pretty bad loss. And was a plus for a lot of the game. And if we're being honest here, like, she's been killing it in July. Like, since July the 1st, Sophie Cunningham has hit more 3-pointers than any other player in the entire league. Sophie Cunningham has been probably one of the best shooters in the entire WNBA. And she's doing it on lesser volume. She's doing it at 55%, whereas Alicia Gray is doing it at 32. Kayla McBride's doing it at 39. Kayla McBride is she's one of the very few shooters in the world few shooters at elite level that doesn't dip and is able to still shoot a high percentage. Like, there's, like, from off the top of my head, it's like Klay Thompson, Ryan Anderson maybe. But and we'll see with AZ Foot. I would assume AZ Foot is going to continue to shoot well when she comes into the WNBA. But Kayla McBride is one of those rare non-dip shooters where it's like they are extremely rare. Most non-dip shooters are poor shooters. Like, there's a lot more poor shooters that don't dip than good shooters that don't dip. Well, a percentage of people don't dip. A lot more of them are bad shooters than good shooters. But that's kind of irrelevant. But Sophie Cunningham is starting to really, really show why the Indiana Fever traded that number 8 pick for. And I think she's there for the long run. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, they traded Sanaya Rivers. Would you rather have Sanaya Rivers and Sophie? I still think they could have made this trade without the number 8 pick. I think they got rid of the number 8 pick because they wanted the cap room to get the one up on her. Like, I think the master plan with Natasha Howard and everything, I think they just literally did not want that 8 pick. They wanted to save 10,000 in cap room. And they were confident that I actually think they didn't think they were going to use any of their picks. Like, I'm pretty confident that they had predicted that Jaylen Brown was going to be a Fever player. And that they weren't going to use any of their draft picks. And that getting rid of number 8 pick didn't matter. Because we saw, like, the Liberty got rid of number 7 pick. They thought nothing of it. There were a lot of teams that got rid of first round picks for not much. Like, the Sparks could have got Malonga and went for Kelsey Plum, albeit a better level player. But, like, Sophie Cunningham is, I mean, like, she is looking like she's a starter. And she's better at this point in time. Like, she has been better at this point in time than Sanaya Rivers would have been for this Fever team. Albeit long-term, you could say long-term Sanaya Rivers would be better, but, like, Sophie Cunningham's not old. She's still got 4 to 5 years left. And she's got 4 to 5 years left for in her prime, I guess. Like, is Sophie Cunningham older than me? She was drafted in 2019, so she might be a bit younger. She's a month older than me. She's got 5 years left till she's 33. She's fine. And I think she's going to continue to do what she did with the Phoenix Mercury. So if you guys don't know, like, she had one of her better seasons last year. And she took a pay cut of 50 grand to stay with Phoenix. Because it helped out her career. It helped out her career because the Phoenix Suns were paying a lot of things for her off the court, and it just made sense for her to be in Phoenix. And then being in Indiana, there's no way that Sophie Cunningham was not like they weren't asking Sophie Cunningham when she came to Indiana about whether she wanted to do that. And I could see Sophie Cunningham taking close to a vet minimum. Like she's only making 12 grand above a vet minimum. So I could see Sophie Cunningham doing that again and her being a really, really important player for the Fever long term. And is Sophie Cunningham good enough to be a starter on a championship team? I'm going to answer yes, but she has to be your fifth best player. She has to be your fifth best player. And because she does fit a role. She is a above average defender. She's not Lexi Hull level on defense. She's not lockdown, but what she is she's versatile. She's a competent on-ball defender. She is a competent rebounder. She is a competent post defender. She's not good. She's not brilliant at any of those things, but she is incredibly average at every aspect of basketball. She's got no real flaws in her game except for her handle, but she is average at every single aspect of basketball pretty much. And then she does one thing well, which is shoot, and she's starting to do it well. Like, she was not hitting shots at all, but if you look at her, obviously to start the year, from 3, first game's 2 of 4, then 1 of 2, then 1 of 3, 1 of 2, 1 of 2, 3 of 7, 0 of 2, 0 of 3. She went on a little bit of a cold streak here, but if you look again, is the Minnesota game in there? No, so the Minnesota game's not in there, and she killed it in that game. Then in July, obviously started off 1 of 4, 1 of 4, 1 of 3. Not the greatest percentages, and it was all about, oh, what does she do? What does she do? Now we've had 16, 13, 11, 12, 15. Like, she is averaging, 13 points per game? 13 and a half points per game over her last 5. And again, she was averaging, she's averaging over 13 points per game in the 3-game win streak as well, which is huge. Which is absolutely huge because at the end of the day, like that win streak came with Caitlin Clark there, and you're kind of just hoping. You're kind of just hoping that like when it comes to Kate or when it comes to Sophie and these players, is that like, look, if they're doing well when it comes to playing with Caitlin Clark and they're hitting shots, maybe if Caitlin Clark comes back, I assume it's a when, not an if. In terms of health, but it could be an if, because if the Fever go and tank these next 10 games, I think she's going to sit out for the season. But yeah, it is one of those big things. It is one of those big things for the Fever, and Sophie Cunningham just becoming an elite shooter again. Sophie Cunningham becoming a sniper. Sophie Cunningham becoming the player that the Fever got. And you might be saying, oh, but like the Indiana Fever gave up too much. And you know what? I actually do agree with that. They had to give up Nalissa Smith and the number 8 pick for her, which I think is kind of crazy in hindsight. If they had known the Aces were going to give up a first-round pick for Nalissa Smith, I would have just taken the Aces first-round pick for Nalissa Smith and just given that Aces pick for Sophie Cunningham. Like, if the Aces, it's just, we don't know how desperate the Aces were. The Aces 100% we could have made that trade with the Aces very handily. If the Aces were that desperate at the time, but they had Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, who ended up getting pregnant. So it was an interesting one. And to be fair, when it comes to the Aces, they didn't know when Meg Gustafson was coming back and all of this stuff. So I think the Dallas Wings, Kurt Miller, he should get Executive of the Year for turning Nalissa Smith into a first-round pick. Even though, in fairness to Nalissa Smith, she's going to go and cook tonight, isn't she? But anyway, yeah, that is the video. I'll see you guys.